Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our evening district workshop slash mentoring event. If this is your first one, welcome. If this is your second one, you kind of know how the run of show works. Tonight's going to be slightly different. We are going to be focusing on all the questions you sent in to Ross. He goes by Rusty. He's our subject matter expert in tax tonight. And he's going to run through a lot of those questions you guys had because we really want to make this about the needs of what you need help with, what you are trying to figure out with your business. If it's new, how do taxes work? What do I, tax, take exemptions for, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to cover a little bit of everything, and that's going to run for about 45 minutes. And then in the chat, I will mention about mentoring tonight. The mentoring sessions won't revolve around tax. So if you're primarily here for tax, stay in the tax room tonight. If you need something outside of tax help, related help, we will discuss that in the chat and get you situated with a mentor tonight. But I'm going to turn it over to Rusty here, and we're going to get started.
Thanks, Crystal. Thank you, entrepreneurs. Welcome. We are the Small Business Administration. We are the government, and we are here to help. None of us are compensated for this work. We are volunteers for you. You've heard this joke before if you've heard me present, and we want you to make as much money as you can legally. And there's always a pause there because it is tax time, both for federal and the state of Utah and the state of Arizona. We have several small business owners here from Utah, from Arizona. I'm going to be sharing a couple things as we go through this presentation. Specifically, if you registered and put your question, we see it here, and I'm going to try to address as many of these as possible. If I don't get to it, don't worry, there's an opportunity to get plenty of mentorship here in our breakout sessions. If I get it wrong and make a mistake, that may actually happen. It's okay to make a mistake in business. It's not okay to file under penalty of perjury with malfeasance and then not expect to be penalized. So you may see some of those mentors who are much more seasoned than I in some of these particular tax rabbit holes correct some of my items in the chat, but the emphasis is on speed. I will pay deference to the people who put in their questions first, and if I've asked it, great. If not, we will try to get to you. I own a clothing business. My business is not open yet. I'm still getting my designs done. Do I get that money back that I spent? And the answer is yes. You get that money, all those expenses, provided that you keep proper records. We are encouraging you either with the state of Arizona or the state of Utah to file and start your company with the Arizona Corporation Commission. That'll be one of the links that we place in. You will also potentially need what we call a transaction privilege tax license. That's a lot of words. And if you are like me, you think, why do I have a privilege to pay tax? And I'm not very happy with how the state of Arizona does this. Utah does it better. Yes, keep your records. The expenses that you incur in the startup years generally are deductible. How should depreciation of equipment for my vet business be calculated? How much for deduction for charitable donations? I'm going to address these in one of two different ways. For charitable deductions, I would recommend if it is a charitable donation that be in your personal income tax, I'd recommend for your company, if you're doing something for the benefit of charity, to make that an expense, a marketing expense, a travel expense, and equipment expense. If I want to help an animal shelter, I can bill my time, or I can donate my properly depreciated equipment. So keep charity in your personal income tax deductions and business expenses that help charitable causes as a marketing expense, travel expenses. What are some common deductions small businesses miss out on or don't take advantage of, should be aware of? I'm going to call myself out on this because I specifically had that one set, if I remember quickly and promptly, to get to where we wanted to go. And did I remember to do this one? You might be surprised that I'm referencing the Internal Revenue Service. And I would highly recommend the Internal Revenue Service, the Arizona Department of Revenue, the Utah Income Taxes, and the state of Arizona be referenced in your work. I'll be candid when I say the states want you to be profitable, provided that you do your business correctly. So one of the links that I had, I'm going quickly. If you see something here that really gets you excited, hey, what about that stuff? Perfect. Expenses. This is a really good one to put in the chat. Publication 535. I'm pausing so I get the answer quickly because most of you are saying, hey, Ross, just answer the question. What things people miss? People miss depreciation, especially accelerated depreciation. If I buy a headset, it will be depreciated. If I buy paper, it will be expensed in the same year. By the way, while I have you, you might see, wow, 2022 taxes, 2023 taxes. Wow, this guy is old school. You know what? There is a benefit to old school. We called it a shoebox. It's not a shoebox, it's no folders. But if I have something where I invoice someone or take a receipt, I kid you not, I will put it in this and then I'll make a little annotation that I write, like, ensure this carries over from last year or use this form. So I'm making myself a cheat sheet as I go through the year because you really don't want to do this on personal taxes, April 15th. Corporate taxes, remember, these are due earlier. So if you have a business, I want you to please do your company's taxes first and then do your personal taxes, especially if you are an S Corp, partnership, limited liability corporations, things that flow through, pass through entities, because you need to know how much your company made before you know how much you paid. How do I determine my quarterly taxes? If you are profitable, I will repeat this again. If you are profitable, you probably owe quarterly taxes. There's an exception if you are a seasonal company like an amusement park, Coney Island, or you go fishing 6 weeks out of the year, but I don't think there's a lot of fishing businesses here in Arizona. So if you're profitable, you probably owe taxes quarterly. In the state of Arizona, if you're expecting to monetize less than, it's around $5,000 or $10,000. One of these mentors may get it faster. You might request annual filing. Okay, there's a number. It is safer to do your 940, 941s quarterly. You can ask the IRS to do this annually once, and you can do that after the filing window. For example, I have a company that's not very profitable. Boo-hoo. Okay, but I'm going to ask the IRS to shift from quarterly filing to annual. How do I determine my quarterly taxes? This is really a straight line projection. If you made $100 for the year, you owe 25, then 25, then 25, then 25. And this goes filed not like government fiscal year that runs like October 1st through September 30th. This is January to March, April through June. This is run every 3 months. Take what your revenue projection is, divide it by a quarter if you've got annual projections. Or if you made more in Q3 or Q4, you will file and pay taxes appropriately. Is there a list of business tax advisors to score? Yes, and you're going to get to meet with some of those in your breakout section. What is the difference between an S Corp and an LLC? Let me just start off with L and L, limited liability. I'll say that again, limited liability. I have to think about this since my right is your left and I show this on camera. If you are a dentist, a lawyer, a therapist, a heavy equipment machine operator, something where you are doing something to somebody else which could result in their suing you, I recommend you have a limited liability partnership or corporation. That is because when you have something which is limited in its liability, if the corporation or partnership is found liable, they will pursue the assets of the partnership or corporation and not your personal assets. That's why people set up a limited liability partnership. These are, in general, what we call pass-through organizations. I spoke with that a few moments ago. There are some cases where an S Corp will simply do a publishing company, I sell something that's very innocuous. I run a business where I'm not expecting any type of lawsuits. There's less concerns when I set up an S corporation. I'm going to take that into our mentorship session because how you set that up matters and changing it is a function of paperwork. In your opinion, what's the best way to account for business loans? Business loans. I want money. That's why companies go public, right? There's some of you here, and I hope you are a small business now and a large business later, that you're employing people and someday listing as a C corporation. That's with like shareholders, that you're going to go to Security Exchange Corporation, and oh my goodness, we're going to list on a stock exchange. But before you get there, you need business loans, right? It takes money to make money. You account for business loans as loan payments, debt, and interest. Do not discount those loans, especially if you're applying for more loans. Some people want to have different categories of loans, and they say, I don't want bank of whoever to know these other loans I'm carrying because they're less likely to loan me money. The banks usually know who is loaning you money and can find out. So account for the business loans, yes, please. What can be expense as a business owner? What do I need to worry about when planning to deliver my reports to a CPA? A CPA is a certified public accountant. A CPA has a license and has passed the exam in the state of Utah or Arizona. You can give them money to do your taxes. You can work with us and mentorship and consider doing it yourself. You can certainly do it yourself. You can go online. There's a bunch of ways that have to do this, but remember, death and taxes, it is still due. I don't want you to worry if you hire a CPA. The CPA is more worried about retaining your business than you should worry about what to show or not to show your CPA. If you pay someone money to help you file your taxes, show them everything. We call that open kimono. And you're going to find that out where you sign your paper under penalties of perjury or the paid preparer. That is what your CPA will be. If you pay someone to do this, you're going to give them money, and they're going to also have to sign as the paid preparer. To the best of my knowledge, my clients' reports are accurate and substantive. And so don't worry about delivering reports to CPA. Just give them what they're asking for. And any good CPA is going to want to maximize their revenue, just like you're trying to maximize yours. I would say, hey, CPA, we're coming up on our reporting requirement. They should know this. What do you need from me? And the CPA will tell you. After 1 or 2 quarters, if you like the CPA's services, you will get into a regular battle rhythm as to what the CPA wants to receive and what not to receive. Thank you for that explanation of LLC. Absolutely. I will get to the Crystal saying, can you elaborate on systems development and what's specific about marketing? Systems for veterinary business to make my things run efficiently. That is a great one to take into the mentoring session. Thank you, Crystal. What should I be doing claiming to reduce my tax burden? All of you should reduce your tax burden. I never, ever want any of you to pay your taxes early, and I never want you to pay too much. If you are paying a penny more or you're paying early, you are giving the state of Arizona or Utah or the Internal Revenue Service an interest-free loan. Now, having said that, many of you thinking, hey, I get penalized if I pay my stuff late. You're correct. If you optimize this perfectly, you'll pay exactly what you need to do, and that is unlikely. Don't try to be perfect in your taxes. Be timely. Be timely. If you overpay, you get money back. That's called a refund. So to reduce your tax burden, we have classes like this. We have mentorship. We have the aforementioned, we don't, but the aforementioned CPAs, there are people who will do this for you professionally. Startups with no income and their tax implications. I would encourage many of you to get used to the idea, if you've been doing this just starting, that you're probably going to lose money before you make money. If you make money in Q1, great, happy to see you. I'm not allowed to invest in you. That would be a conflict of interest. But it is okay to not have any income. You're spending money in most cases first. There are tax implications. Remember I talked about those pass-through entities like that limited liability partnership or that limited liability corporation or the S corporation? If you lose money in your company and you own 100% of that company, 100% of those losses will be deductions provided you file properly and on time. So it is okay to lose money and bring most, not all, most of those expenses, deductions, losses into your personal income. And you'll find out if you lose things in the stock market, we have what's called a carryover loss. If you invested in some awesome IPO startup and lost all your money. Sorry, you're not allowed to carry a lot of those losses over personally on your personal income tax into next year capital losses. You're able to carry some. It's some number. It's around $2,000 or $5,000. You've seen those numbers come up a lot. I'm getting it wrong. People will know it in the chat line. But if you lose $12,000 in your business, that $12,000 of losses will be delicious, itemizable, deductible losses in general when you file your personal income taxes. Remember, your corporation taxes are due earlier. Schedule K1. A K1 is a breakdown by ownership for your company. If you have 2 people who own the S Corp and the corporation makes $1,000, those 50-50 partners on their K1 statement will get a $500 income and a $500 income. 50-50. If somebody owns 51%, that person will have 51% or $5,100, and the 49% owner will get $4,900. Why would you want to give someone 51% of a company? That makes rounding difficult. True. However, if you are a women-owned small business, if you are a veteran-owned small business, if you are a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, if you are working in a hub zone, you will be required as the owner to document a majority ownership in the company. And if you are the woman who owns the business, you need at least 51% of the business in order to properly claim that stipulation. Why would you want that? There are favorable opportunities in federal, state, and county and city contracting. Federal government is like the biggest spender of money in all those tax dollars that you have to submit that you're trying to minimize on the seminar right now. So, separate discussion on how to do business with the government. So could a shuttle ski sole proprietor turn into an S Corp or C Corp? And the answer is maybe. The more money you bring from other people with that C Corp, where you're selling stock, not as a passive organization, the more paperwork you have to do. Most C corporations need that CPA, need that treasurer. You've got a board of directors that has to file much more paperwork. By the way, if you're an S corporation, you got a board of directors of one, you are the president, you are the vice president, you are the treasurer, you are the secretary. When you file that paperwork, you are all of those. Good on you. You will never work as hard for anybody as you will working for yourself on your business. How to best keep records? Well, I showed you the shoebox. I also have a smartphone. I'm not endorsing any particular smartphone, but if I'm walking around and I buy something for my business, I want to annotate and write it down and put it in a category. And this thing will either go solo or sync up with my spreadsheets back home, or I can buy software that syncs up. So if it's like, you know what? I need that aluminum, or yeah, I'm going to a Home Depot and I need to buy postage. I keep track of that. Is there a penalty for not paying quarterly taxes? Yes. Is there a penalty for not paying annual taxes? Yes. Is there, you know where this is going. There are penalties for not paying taxes, and ignorance is no excuse, and the penalties continue to accrue. There is interest owed, federal and state, for taxes which should have been paid and aren't. Remember when I said you want to pay those taxes on time? Now, I'm less familiar with Utah, but I am familiar with Arizona, and Arizona actually offers you a discount. If you actually pay them in a timely manner, you can take around 1 or 2% off. Like, I didn't believe that when I saw that, but it's actually true. I'm not as heavy in Utah because here I'm in Tucson, Arizona. You have the opportunity to save money with Arizona if you file early. Do you recommend TurboTax or other tax prep software for business taxes? I will not provide a corporate endorsement as I am volunteering for SCORE. I have used for-profit tax preparation software, and I have made the determination that in the interest of time and accuracy, in most cases, I would rather pay a software to run those numbers than do myself, because if I spent 2 hours rounding out the numbers, I could have spent those 2 hours with a client. So I am a user, and then sometimes the fees for those for-profit services have gotten too high and exorbitant, and I said, you know, you just raised my rates again and it's not valuable to me, therefore I'm going to do this myself. So I have gone between doing it myself and paying other people. I haven't particularly hired a CPA. We had that discussion about CPA. The bigger it is, the more valuable it is, the more you have to lose, the more you need seasoned professionals. I am not a CPA. So I have used them, and recommendations or endorsements won't be forthcoming in this type of discussion. Insights on what you're paying attention to throughout the year. I pay a lot of attention to what the Arizona State Legislature or the Utah State Legislature is passing that impacts my business. Some credits expire. Some credits get worse every year. Solar would be an example. It used to be a couple of years ago, you could deduct more for solar on your roof or solar in your business. It used to be that I could depreciate a lot more, and now that was called accelerated depreciation. I think this is left to right from you. I can accelerate a lot and then get down to a little bit. That was a beautiful curve over here in year one. that's starting to flatten out. We don't have the time to go through all the details about accelerated depreciation, but I actually really pay attention to what the legislator is doing. Does that mean I go to the state capitol and sit in wings? No, that means I subscribe or get in touch with each chamber of commerce, both with the state and my county and city, who follows this and would be happy to share with me what legislation is pending that will impact my bottom line and impact my business. How to claim transfer vehicles, how to claim expenses without sales. Let's start with the fun ones. If you're in, because this is Arizona, if you're in Arizona and you have a vehicle and you use it for 51% or more for your business, like driving out to your farm, farms are great. That's an agricultural vehicle. If you have a tractor, that one's easy. If you have a Corvette, I know this is before. If you have a Corvette and you're spending 51% of your time driving around the farm, checking on your cows, that Corvette is an agriculture vehicle. And I know I'm being recorded here, okay? Just to get your attention when I say tractor and Corvette. More redundantly, vehicles are capital expenses, like the tractor, like a big piece of machinery. It must be properly depreciated. So if you bought it for $10,000 and it is depreciated 50%, that $10,000 tractor is now worth $5,000, and you have properly taken $5,000 of depreciation expense. It is difficult to get away from depreciation when you're buying things. Where does this really matter? If you are in that type of business which sells big, heavy things, which you do depreciate over the year. How to claim expenses without sales. Those two, well, we talked earlier about how you can have expenses while losing money. It is anticipated that you're at least bringing in some money. I would not want to be the auditor who has a company who has nothing but expenses and liabilities and hasn't even brought in $1. It's okay if you brought in $12 and spent $1,200. Probably better if you brought in $120. But I don't want to be that business when I properly report, remember, we're doing this all legally, that hasn't made any money without sales. I'd anticipate you at least have something of your business idea is making money. By the way, if nothing is bringing in money, these are the SCORE mentors that we're going to be with in our breakout session in about 17 minutes, where you can say, you know what, selling the Halloween candy isn't working. Let's sell Halloween something else. That's called a vertical shift. Or it's not working in Halloween for my candy, let's sell it Valentine's candy. That's called a horizontal move. So if it's Halloween and if it's candy and that's not working, we're going to find some other holiday or some other product. What is most difficult is selling Halloween candy and then saying, you know what, I want to open a law firm. Those two are not related. That's a diagonal move. That is difficult to do. Is there a benefit to having my business standalone instead of filing as a Schedule C? A Schedule C, by definition, is a standalone business. The profits are going to go to the owners, the shareholders on that Schedule C. And I would recommend, you know, those Schedule Cs, that's more work. Those are bigger companies. Those are standalone businesses. I'm buying a business at the end of the year and my expenses exceeded my revenue. Any tax advice here? Previously discussed. Yes, you file and it's okay to have those losses. How to effectively do my taxes for a business, both for sales tax and income taxes. Okay, let's briefly digress into sales taxes. Sales taxes, if you are selling something, there is a high probability that the Arizona Department of Revenue wants you to pay taxes. And you will probably have a license to sell that widget or product. There are exceptions. They exceed the time we have here. And when you have that, you are paying sales tax, and those sales taxes are typically collected at the point of sale. And what I mean by that is if you are in Phoenix, Arizona, and you are selling smartphones, then you will sell the product for some number, you will administer those sales tax, and those sales tax will be representative of the state or the county and or the municipality or reservation that is appropriately taxing you. So where I'm going with this, how do you file those sales taxes? A sales tax is collected by you and held on behalf of the federal, county, or state government, which you're going to remit when you do your quarterly taxes. When you do that, that sales tax expense is an expense for your company. It will minimize your income, which will minimize the corporate income taxes. Are there free guides? Yes, this is one of them, and mentorships have more. This is my first year filing. Need help knowing what is needed and what format in order to file. First year small business owners, awesome. Happy to have you. If you are those first, encourage more. There are people that have been doing this for a long time. If you know each other on this, look, we got, oh my goodness, we got 60 people online. Help each other and encourage, because I don't have the expertise nor the time to get into this. This group of 60 is your group of helping, unless you're in competition with each other in the same area. So if two of you own a dry cleaner shop in Salt Lake City, 2 blocks from each other, you don't want to help each other, right? You want all that dry cleaning business. But if you own a dry cleaning shop in Provo, Utah, and somebody here owns a dry cleaning shop in Tempe, Arizona, you two should be talking all the time. Nobody's going to drive cross state just to wash their clothes. So you have a big group here who can help and do their first years. The easiest advice for my first time filers of you 60, it takes longer than I thought. When I go to a state or federal publication, good. See if I can find one. I'm going to launch a publication, right? I'm right now looking at publication 5 of tax and withhold taxes. There's like 43 pages. I prefer online because they're indexes, but they have. Remember I said the IRS is actually pretty helpful? I spent a lot of time looking at this. Just because it doesn't show up with a deduction doesn't mean it wasn't useful. I just used a triple negative. I'm going to make that simpler. It's okay to spend time to know the right answer. I do a lot of this when your significant other or little people are asleep, when no one's got to bother me, when I really got to put my head down and pay it out. So for the first time in the business, it takes longer and you have to pay attention. After a while, it becomes to lather, rinse, and repeat. And I used to do stuff like I took one of those payroll protection program loans, and a lot of us did. So far, so good. That window to do that wasn't open. And when I really cared about it was breaking money, I really, really paid attention because I was looking for that catch. And then I put it in short-term memories, like cramming for an exam. It's okay to only pay attention to the stuff that really, really matters. Self-employment, 401k options, save on tax. These are 2 different things. If you have your company and you give yourself a W-2, you are an employee. A W-2 employee has a payroll, has income, has Medicare withholding, Social Security withholding, unemployment withholding. What is withholding? That's when you, the company, pay Ross Orvik, the employee, $100, but you also have to withhold 7.5% of that paycheck and send it to Social Security. 7.5%, give or take, and send that to Medicare. And that's money that comes out of the employer's paycheck, your paycheck for your employees, so that things like Social Security and unemployment are funded. The other half of that comes from the employee, okay? If you are self-employed, you are not a W-2 employee, you are getting 1099s or paying yourself a 1099, and then all of that employment, Social Security, Medicare, unemployment is coming in. That's called a self-employment tax. It's going to be 15%. Let me go back 7 minutes, first-time filers. If you are a first-time filer and you're self-employed, you're going to wind up paying more in self-employment tax than you anticipated, because the government is going to collect half of it from the employer and half of it from the employee. If you are both, they collect it all from you. I'm seeing in the chat line, thank you, Ebony, thank you, Armighty, veterinary house call, accountant, cool stuff. This is an opportunity in chat line to answer each other's questions. It is an opportunity to plug your business ethically. So if you're looking for customers on this chat line, I'm not sure that's the right place, but if you want to help out or share, that's fine. Remember, if you're the 2 dry cleaner shops competing in Utah, don't sabotage each other on here. That'd be a bad idea in front of the Small Business Administration. My startup is not profitable. How do I do my taxes? Are the tax break advantages write-offs? I'm delighted in that you guys asked a lot of questions, and some of these I did my best effort to already answer. I have book royalties coming every 6 months. Do I report this income? Do I schedule a receipt? Let me take a step back as to the types of money. The hardest type of money is where you go out and you earn it. That's all of you starting your own business, right? The next best money is that's active income. You are actively working. You probably never worked so hard as you are for yourself. The next one is passive income, as in like I own this hotel, someone else managed it, and they just pay me, and I gotta kind of lift a finger and make sure the hotel is bringing in customers. That's passive income. That's good. On top of that, even better is residual and royalty income. That's the best income of all. You wrote the book, you sang the song, la, 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 and someone said, ooh, I'm putting that on YouTube, and you get royalties. So you did the work, you did the recording, you made the opera show. In this case, you're a writer. Awesome. Yes, royalty income is royalty income. It will be reported to you by your publisher, and you report that, yes, on your Schedule C. So royalty income. I guess some people say, well, what if I go put a quarter in the slot machine and hit the jackpot? That's just one money. Some people like that better than others. Depends on how much that excites your endorsers, endorphins. I'm not a medical person. I'm a tax guy. So residual income, that is a great thing to have. Best way to deal with back taxes owed. Remember that proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The next best time is today. When's the best time to take your back taxes? 4 years ago when you owe the tax. You can't do that, okay? The best time, next best time, today. The IRS in Arizona and Utah do not stop collecting on back tax. In fact, they charge more interest. You are able to negotiate with the federal and the state level to either lower your payment number or lower your payment schedule. When you do this, they are expecting that you follow the law and comply and communicate properly. So you can negotiate with the state, and Utah says, well, it's better to have 50% than nothing. They'd rather have 100% plus interest, but they are negotiable. How to file for bankruptcy, I don't see it on here, and that's a whole separate discussion. So we don't want you declaring bankruptcy. I'm not going to walk down that rabbit hole today, but that's how do best taxes. The state is not going to stop. They're very active in doing this. We just hired tens of thousands of IRS agents that are designed to go after specifically high earners or fraud. It'll get more difficult. Best ways to incorporate business in a foreign country with at-home tax. Crystal, let's take this one into a future session, because let's not pick France, or let's not pick Swaziland. Let's do Mexico, because I know a lot of you here have production facilities or fabs, and Mexico is probably the closest. It is the closest country to Arizona, most amount of business. For Utah, maybe the Canada or Mexico. But Crystal, let's schedule who's our Mexico experts, and let's start off there, and then let's go down other countries. Sales taxes for artists. I'm going to be careful here. There are artists, which I'm not going to take my screenshot off. I'm going to find some other art. Some artists made Yes You Can, Campbell's Soup. Great. Okay. There are also those performing artists that like put on stuff and they say, I'm going to entertain you. Performing artists. And then there are artists who are like, I'm a computer coder and I code for a video game. The IRS is very particular about performing artists, which get additional expenses like some of the gas in your car, some of the stage makeup that you use, some of the wardrobe that you use. If you have to show up as a historical actor, that's a performing artist. There are different categories. If you are just putting stuff up on the wall, that's not a performing artist as adjudicated by the IRS. I think it's art. I think it definitely has a performance aspect. Remember, it's what you can prove, not what your opinion is. Do you get a tax credit for donations? What sections on the tax form? This is very similar to our Vet Nation questions, and I'm glad we're almost out of time, so we're getting kind of residual here. Charity donations, personal income tax, write-offs, expenses, goodwill, asset forfeiture in your corporation. So don't call it charity, call it pro bono. I know that's like Latin for like the same thing. I'm sure we have some lawyers on the line here. Do your charity and your personal income taxes. Can any portion of the rent I paid in my apartment be used to write off if I do this apartment? Yes. Home office expenses, completely separate category. I have a link. Love it. A lot of people ask that. In fact, can I get this link? Yes. Crystal, if you can put this one in IRS tax tip 22, it was like the 10th tip. They did this quickly. Here's some things you can't eligible. Yes, you can claim a home office, certain expenses. The home must be that apartment. Yes, if you're renting an apartment, absolutely. The simplified option is 5 foot a square foot for business home. That's if you don't want to do paper. I recommend you do the paper, and here is why. If you own a brewery and you store beer and you sell beer, you could, hold on for a second. Brought a prop. You could take your bottles and just put the bottles in a stack and stack them all the way up to the ceiling. And if you ever walked into a warehouse, that is how they do it. And that is maximizing inventory per square foot of area. Now, if instead all those boxes are spread out on your entire room, that is not the smartest way to do inventory, but is the best way to claim the entire square footage of the room, and that is legal. You don't have to be smart with your inventory. You just have to be able to account for it. There are a couple things that I completely, and that's a fraction. So if 1/4 of my apartment is storing the inventory for my t-shirt business, I will write off 1/4 of those expenses, utilities, rent, insurance. There's a couple exceptions. I need an internet connection to, well, I needed it to volunteer with you, but I also need that internet connection, regardless of how much I use it, to run my business. And so I happen to deduct, I know I'm getting recorded here, nothing up my sleeve, 100% of my internet monthly expenses to run my business, because the internet bandwidth isn't charging how much are you doing taxes and how much are you going to someone else. Crystal's starting to put out the breakout rooms here. We're going to ask that, and Crystal's going to help send you into a couple places to get your mentorship so you can follow up, because we're almost out of time with me, which is beautiful. These are subject matter experts. Most of them do a lot longer than I have, and it's more opportunities to go from this shotgun approach down to personalizing. So as you have the opportunity to join, please head out, or Crystal will put you into some of these breakout rooms where we can go and answer some specifically. I only have 2 more questions left. Should I separate my personal and business bank accounts? Yes. Emphatically. Here, I'll zoom in. Yes. Separate your business and personal accounts. Am I allowed to pay myself from my business account? Yes, you should pay yourself from your business account and keep very accurate records, because if you dip into the till to do $5 to cover inventory, that's not going to help you well. But if you properly account for it, this really matters at the end of tax time. How long should we keep business receipts? 5 to 7 years. I think 7 years is the maximum that the federal requires that you keep. Once you file, I'm a fan of digitizing. I'm not a fan of keeping 30 years of it, because that just piles up. So when I wound up moving, hey man, do I really need stuff from 1990, whatever? Yeah, I'm that old. No, I didn't. But 5 to 7 years is how long I keep my receipt. And I'll finish with a fun one, because I'm out of time here. How to deal with Upwork for freelancers from a reporting standpoint. When is it advantageous to change? If you are a freelancer, first of all, if you employ freelancers, you are issuing them we used to call them 1099s. They are contractors. You are making one expense, and the contractor gets money, and then their job is to report. Their job is to handle their own self-employment stuff. Okay. Remember, if you hire contractors, oops, see, the mentor is saying, yeah, he said it. If you contract contractors, they are contractors who will follow that contract. You can't hire them. You can't fire them. You can't give them raises. You can't say, hey, you're not allowed to do that on your smoke break. Contractors are different than employees, and it is a completely separate discussion. In fact, they even put that down in categories. All right, folks, I am out of time. We have breakout sessions, and remember, we got David, we got Scott, we got Carol, we got a lot. We got Jeff, we have Gail, we have many mentors here who said, hey, they really know what they're doing. They are very seasoned, ask them some questions, and they are open for business. So if you said, you know, this 42 minutes was not enough, Rusty, I need more, you're in the right place. We can give more time to you, one-on-one, professional, free. Did I say free? Yes, you can have free mentorship with us, and you're about to have that opportunity as we break you into the mentorship shops, and Crystal will make it able for you to get a one-on-one mentor. I will say, if you take one of us as a mentor from a guy who used to mentor many people, we will assign you homework. Like after your session, I say, go back and let me know how much that depreciation expense is. Go back and let me know how much that tractor cost. Go back and tell me how many contractors you anticipate for your payroll for Q3. And I will pay more attention when I was a mentor to my mentees who do their homework, who take their business seriously, even though I didn't charge when I was mentoring, and none of your breakout sessions will charge you for their services, but do them the common courtesy of doing your homework because they want to help you make money legally. Crystal, I turn the floor over to you, and we will send people to their breakout sessions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I think many of you have responded in the chat for the breakout room. So that does conclude for tonight. So if you didn't receive mentoring, I did drop the link for mentoring. And then I'm also going to drop a link for our upcoming workshops. We do have another bookkeeping workshop coming up in a couple weeks. So definitely check that out. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything here. Great question, Ebony. Here is the link. If you're interested in becoming a mentor, you can fill out that application right there. Yes, good question. The recording will be sent out by the end of this week, hopefully in a couple days. And I can include some of those links Rusty had given to you guys. And again, we have a lot more mentors that were present tonight that can help you with tax or CPA questions. Again, SCORE does have limits to the type of legal questions and tax we can help with. So we will direct you to the IRS and other places. Absolutely. We have plenty of mentors, Pamela, that help with art. So if you want to use that link to request a mentor, we can definitely get you a mentor that specializes in art. I do have a mentor that's still available for any generalist business questions, business plans, management operations, strategy, sales, consulting. What specific about art questions did you have, Pamela, if you're still on?
I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, like, I put a lot of artwork into art shows, and people might want to buy it, and I haven't sold it because I was afraid to, because I didn't know how to do that properly. So I don't know anything about like sales tax and how to, I report that, or I just didn't know what that involved, and I didn't know where to. I don't know how to start.
Gotcha. David, do you have any insight on that, or Teresa, since we have a couple mentors left here in our chat?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Sometimes I have artwork in an art show and somebody asked to buy it. And I didn't know how to properly legally go about selling it. I don't know about what that involves, or sales taxes, or how to report it, or, I wasn't sure how to get started with that.
Okay, so do you have a legal entity that you formed to conduct your business within that entity?
No, but
Okay.
I just, yesterday I contacted somebody from SCORE, and I have a meeting for next week to talk about that.
Yes. Okay. So that your mentor will take you through from the very beginning, and it will begin with you setting up a legal entity, such as an LLC. It doesn't have to be, but it may be. And then you will use that entity to report any income that you have from sales of your art. And then you'll go on down the path of capturing your revenue, recording your expenditures that you have associated with it, and then paying taxes on any net income that you have, like we discussed this evening, and any associated sales taxes. So it sounds like you're set up with a mentor to get to start the journey.
Okay, all right, so that's good. I think I'm in the right spot.